So white evangelical Christians are freaking out, and with good reason. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video, subscribe to this channel, maybe even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So I have just about had it with articles by reporters going out into mid-America and trying to talk to real Americans about why they support Donald Trump and why they've abandoned the Democratic Party. Isn't it funny how so often the real Americans end up being white Christians who somehow feel that society isn't paying them as much deference as it should be, the way it had in the past? Well, the reality is that all the disruption that we're going through right now in American society has everything to do with demographic changes that are occurring that are fundamentally altering the nature of American society. About how America, if not already a minority-majority country, is well on its way to that. That no longer are mediocre white men going to be able to enjoy the kind of privilege that they've enjoyed in the past simply by function of the color of their skin and the fact that other people who look like them make up the majority of the country. But now, more and more, the majority of the country is going to be, get this, people of color. The research is very clear about the fact that what drives these Trump people is this sense that America is fundamentally changing, and no longer are they going to be entitled to this presumption of privilege that they've been enjoyed in the past. Survey after survey has shown that the fundamental determinative factor as to whether someone supports Donald Trump or supports the Democrats is their level of racial antagonism. Even where research has shown that education is a major predictor of people supporting the Democratic Party as opposed to the Republican Party, that tends to be because of the fact that more educated people tend to be more open-minded and have had more experiences with people who are different from them, resulting in them being less fearful of people who don't look like them. So it's not by accident that so much of the story of how real America has turned from the Democrats and have become MAGA supporters has everything to do with racial antagonism and the fears that the white community have over the fact that they are, as Tucker Carlson points out, being replaced, that they are no longer going to be the majority of America. Well, one aspect to that narrative that seems particularly puzzling, though, is the position of white Christians, especially white evangelical Christians, who've been among Donald Trump's strongest supporters. I mean, Donald Trump might be about the least Christian president you can think of. And certainly, when you compare him to Joe Biden, who is a devout Catholic and is very committed to his faith, it seems absurd that evangelicals would be supporting Donald Trump. Now, of course, we hear all about the abortion issue when we start talking about evangelicals, but the reality is that most of the polling shows that even evangelicals are very ambivalent about the abortion issue, much as most Americans are. While there is a small vocal minority that are arguing for banning all abortions, even most Christians feel uncomfortable with the idea of banning all abortions, even in cases of rape and incest. So why is it that these white Christians have become such strong supporters of the MAGA movement? Well, now we got some new data from the General Social Survey that helps explain this relationship. For the first time since we've been taking surveys, the majority of Americans do not consider themselves faithful people. According to the survey, 49.7% of Americans say, quote, "I know God really exists and I have no doubts about it." As recently as 2008, that number was above 60%. Interestingly enough, the big answers in terms of the growth have been among people who consider themselves agnostic or atheist, but the largest would be believe in a higher power. In other words, they believe in some kind of spirituality, but not necessarily the organized religion that white Christianity represents. Interestingly enough, the biggest drop has been among young people, which again points to the long-term demographic problems that the Republican Party has. Young people, of course, have become some of the strongest supporters of the Democratic Party, in large part because of the fact that they really don't have the racial antagonism that older generations have. As a result, for the first time since we've been taking this survey, for adults under 34 years of age, more of them say that they're atheist, agnostic, or believe in a higher power than those who say they believe in God with no doubts. What's more is that in that age group, the number of people who identify themselves as Christian has fallen below 50%. And given the trends within a year or two, the number of people who say they have no religion will outnumber Christians. This is a huge change that started in the early 1990s. Before then, the level of Christianity and the level of belief in God among Americans was pretty stable, actually, for all the time that we've been taking these surveys. As a result, white people weren't the only ones who gained some type of privilege based upon some characteristic of theirs that was undue. It turns out that Christians also have been given a favored place in society, even while we as America was claiming to be separating religion from government. I mean, I remember so many people who told me America is a Christian nation. Well, the truth is, up until relatively recently, they at least had an argument for that fact, in that most Americans were Christian and most Americans did believe in God. But according to this research now, that's no longer the case. And what's more is seeing the trends, especially among young people, the future is bleak as far as white Christians are concerned. Now, you might say this should be no problem for Christians, because of course, what would Jesus do? Jesus would welcome everybody. The problem is, for these white Christians, Christianity has become a part of their identity. And the fact that they're able to claim that they're the dominant group in American society has been something that gives them a privileged position in society that they don't deserve otherwise. As their numbers have been eroding, though, that privileged position in society is going away, much as it is for white people, as America has become increasingly a nation of people of color. And that, my friends, is what white Christians are so afraid of, and why they've become such adamant supporters of the MAGA movement, with its effort to suppress the majority, which more and more is not looking like them and not believing like them. These demographic trends are no joke, and you can see why these white Christians who want to keep their privileged position in society are scared by them. The truth of the matter is, the only thing that can stand in the way of a more progressive, inclusive society, given the demographic trends going on in the United States right now, is the ability of the Democrats to shoot ourselves in the foot. Let's try to avoid doing that this time, okay? Well, if you like that video and want to learn more about the demographic trends that are changing America, check out this video over here where I go in detail into them and the importance of immigration to America. I'll see you then, and in the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.